All right, I got 6. You guys good? Yep. All right, I have 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to the order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Who's our special guest? There she is.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the flag who stands one nation under God, and with justice for all.
Good job. Well done.
Yeah, it is. So quickly.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the November meeting of the Greencastle School Board. All right. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to add item 8H, and it's teacher appreciation grant stipend for administrators.
Okay. That is 8H. All right. Can I get a motion to add 8H for the teacher appreciation stipend?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That will carry. All right. Moving into recognitions. Mr. Gibbon.
Yep. Mr. Roberts, would you like to begin? Bring your helper back up here one more time.
Well, good evening. I have a second grader from Redpath. Her name is Willow. So this month's character trait was cooperation. Willow shows cooperation each day by following directions, working well in groups, waiting her turn, and making an effort to get along and share with others. She uses kind words, and her gentle spirit makes her so easy to work with. She's an excellent example of how cooperation works. So congratulations to Willow.
All right. So this is Cash, and he is from Mrs. Ames's class. And Cash is a great kid. He's a hard worker and a great friend. He is very easygoing, which makes him a great candidate for this month where we are focusing on cooperation. So he is always willing to help a friend, switch partners, or work with a new group. He is very cooperative, and we very much appreciate that about him. So congratulations.
Mrs. Cooper.
Thank you.
I have the pleasure of introducing Mrs. Five, one of our 5th grade teachers, and she's going to introduce herself.
All right. All right, this is Ben Gibson, okay, and he sets an example of excellent in behavior and cooperation. He transitions easily from one thing to another without distraction. He also conducts himself with maturity at all times, and he is always smiling.
Okay.
I don't think my student's here. Ours is Caden Singley. We call him Cato around school. Cato is a great student that works hard. He is kind to everyone and always shows enthusiasm for what he is learning. He's a great friend and student, and he always has a smile on his face every day and is ready to learn. So, thanks, Cato.
So this is our student of the month from the high school, James Trey Boyce. Bias. Trey consistently demonstrates excellent cooperation skills by actively listening to his peers and balancing the needs of others while working towards shared goals. Trey supports classmates and respects different perspectives inside and outside the classroom. With these qualities, we believe Trey is the best choice for November's Student of the Month cooperation.
Okay. Is that it? Moving on. All right. Do we have any public comments this evening? Nobody on the sheet. All right. Moving on. Approval of the consent agenda, which includes the meeting minutes of the special meeting minutes for October 24th, 2024, the regular board meeting minutes for October 28th of 2024, which are posted on the door, allowance of claims, financial report, and the personnel reports part 1 and 2. Mrs. Romer.
Yes, hello. First in your finance packet, you're going to see the payrolls for October 2024, first dated October 11th, total payroll 465, 720, 37. And as usual, we've got to pay those payroll taxes and some retirement. That total was $130,209.25. And then the second regular payroll for October was dated the 25th for a total payroll of $448,652.08. And along with that were those payroll taxes and retirement of $124,608.67. And then next in your package, you're going to see a list of prepays dated for October 2024. As you look through here, did you have any questions about any of the prepays that I did for
Did not.
October? Okay. Total prepays for October were $359,460.22. And then next in your package, you're going to have a list of claims that are dated today, November 25th, 2024. Again, as you look through the list, did anyone have any questions about anything specific?
Did not.
No? Okay. Total claims dated today, $544,299.24. Move on to the finance report. The fund report is next in your packet. Fund 101 Education, balance at the end of October 2024, $3,712,386.59. We're going to go down 3 lines to Fund 300 Operations, balance at the end of October 31st was $193,107.69. If you go to the very last page, you're going to see the balance in all funds is $10,417,262.48. Next in your package, you're going to see that bank to fund report, and that's just to show that our banks are all in balance with our funds that we hold here at the school. And as you can see, we are in perfect balance. That's exactly where we want to be. We now have the fund transfer report. We need to show that to you every month so you can see what I'm doing with funds back and forth. We had a fund transfer for school lunch of $46,419.80. We always have that education and ops transfer. And then, of course, I also have to report any transfers between banks. You'll see that there. So you'll see that the amount on revenue is exactly the same as the amount expended. And then next in your package, you're going to see a list of expenditures for bond 2021 and bond 2022. We've got a total expenditure of $33,974,558.10 at the end of actually it should say September 2024. We didn't have any expenditures for bond 2022 in September, so we'll move on from that. But we do have the new GO bond 2024, and those funds are being held here at Corporation, Bonds for 21 and 22 are both being held at a bond bank. We basically write up our expenditures, send them off to the bank, and then they send the checks out to our vendors. The GO bond is a little different. We actually house that money here. We're going to manage that like we do any other fund. So you'll see that list for Fund 724. That's the fund number for the GO bond. Okay. And there's a considerable amount of expenditures right out of the chute. Because if you remember, you signed a resolution for us to go ahead and get some work going, and we paid those expenditures out of rainy day. We needed to go ahead and transfer those expenditures to the actual GO bond. So you're going to see a list on there of everything that we've done, and then of course you've got some things on here. Some painting, lighting, that type of thing. Those are all the vendors that we have paid since we acquired those funds. So if you take a look on the last two columns, you'll see the revenue column. You'll see that was the revenue that we took in when we closed on the bond. And then there on the last page, the expended, you'll see our total expended at the end of October 2024. And that's where we're at on that. And pending any questions, I'd like to submit for approval.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. Hearing no questions, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will carry. Thank you, Ms. Merle.
You're welcome.
All right. Moving on to reports. Mrs. McPherson.
I just want to share how exciting the Arts and Innovation Expo was this past Saturday, and how grateful I am to all of the staff members from our elementary schools, our middle school, and high school that helped our students lead it. It was all student-led. They organized it. They did all of the setup and the problem solving, and just to be able to have that type of large event being student-led is just amazing. I think there were almost 400 people in attendance on Saturday. So there were student booths and goods that were being sold, community members coming in and selling their things. So it was just a great event. I'm excited to see what happens with it in the coming years. Just thank you to everyone who had something to do with it.
I saw a lot of nice pictures on social media. That looks like a pretty good event. Great day to be a Tiger Club there. All right. Moving on.
Yes. We are going to have Dr. Hale and some of his students come up and talk to us about the Fab Lab and TZ and some of the projects they're doing down there.
So we did have a short presentation, so I know everyone out here will be able to see it. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
So I want to introduce my two students. There are a lot of students that worked on this project, and I'll introduce the project. I picked these two students. This is Kata Norrell, and this is Levi Hostetter. They were the ones that were at the very beginning of it, and we'll see how it evolved over time. But to set the stage, with the engineering class last year, after they learned a whole bunch of skills, CAD design, woodworking, and some special tools like CNC and others, we decided that we're going to do a project called Engineering Students at Your Service. Students could ask family members, neighbors, what problem they had that needed a manufacturable solution. And then also send out emails to the schools. And one of the requests we got was from TZ, where they had this difficult time managing student devices. To stay with the classroom, just cables and laptops mismatched and all sorts of issues. So we took that, and Kata and Levi took that challenge to figure out what to do. And so we're going to see this evolution how well, but Kata's going to start.
So we just started by planning on some designs that looks more enjoyable to kids to use, and then we kind of did research on website, and then we come up with designs ourselves, and then it ended up being dinosaur designs, as you can see, and then we inserted we had an image of from the website of dinosaur on the Fusion 360 on our device, and then we did trace it out on our sketch. Then then the right image is that one, and then in order to put some devices, a lot of devices, we put a lot of slots on the back of the dinosaur. As you can see, there's a lot of holes in there. But we thought this is not very manufacturable because this is lots of complicated design, and yes, this is not manufacturable, and we did not decide to manufacture this design.
So instead of doing the dinosaur, we had to think of what we could manufacture from the inside of the which restricted us from the dinosaur. So we came up with the G logo, and we CNC the whole slides. We put in little tiny answers for the codes that you can see. And by doing this, we also had to think of how we could make it engage on for the students. So we thought it was that's something to think about. And it was cool because we get to use some of the tools that we normally don't get. It was the first time we got to use the CNC in the class. It was cool to learn how to use it and how it cuts it away at the root makes different shapes.
Awesome. So that's about where their project ended because the semester, the project time period was kind of over. This was the biggest project by far of all the student projects. They took it crazy far. I was really impressed with how they took it. And so I was like, well, we haven't delivered. We got to deliver something. And so I decided because this was such a big project, they needed them to 24 weeks. And so I was like, I'm going to take this into one of my other classes, manufacturing class, and have them as an entire class take the next steps. And so, if you wouldn't mind, go to the next slide. So what I did is I repeated to them all the constraints and the criteria that the school and the teachers had given us, and the feedback that was learned by Kata and Levi. They learned a whole bunch about manufacturing, what would be efficient, material conscious, and then something we could do in the time frame we had, which we still learned was not enough time. So that's still something I'm figuring out is how do you accomplish a project in a teaching environment. So always. But so we took that criteria and gave it to them and said, okay, you guys get groups and start designing different things to meet those criteria. So you see on the screens, the top two and the left bottom one were different varieties of student design. They're representative of all the other student groups that came together. We brought them together, and the students evaluated each other's projects and gave feedback, and then from that, the classes voted on a direction to go. And then with all their input, I designed the bottom right one that's based on their input, where we said, okay, we're going to build this. We decided to build 6 of them, both because of our time frame that we had to work in. And then we thought, okay, we're going to get it to them and let them use it for a few weeks at the end of the school year, give additional feedback, and then we take that to the next year. So if you want to go to the next slide. And so based on that additional feedback, and I should say one of the big things that we did is we actually put students over there to install. And that was a treat. That was really a treat. I had, so there's a whole bunch of kids. We had 2 or 3 students take one into the classroom, get installed, 2 different designs. This one was more built on afterwards or fully, but one was a true selection. But they're figuring out, getting them all in, all organized. One of the most beautiful things is to see some of the teachers, see their high school kids but if they had a tendency to come in, they're just like, and students were like, and it was just this kind of beautiful reunion. I was sitting there like, I can't wait until I have the same, 6 years down the road, students come back. That's because they can see the progression. That's what school is. It's just a steady learning process, progression. So that was a good point. But over there, we learned one critical issue with previous slide. Can you go back? You can see on that bottom one, it's flat on the bottom. And we had designed it, and you can't really see the school group before it was going to go through. We had realized that the students needed to take them home on occasion or take them to another room on occasion. So this was not designed for the week. And okay, well, we've got one thing already with our next phase. And so now you go to the next slide. And so you can see that the simple modification. So again, I took this to my first class this year and said, okay, this is what it worked great. We had a couple issues. One thing, those boards need to be accessible. And so they again went through a whole process and then simplified the slides. But basically, all we did was extend the legs down. And it's really cool because some students come up with this elaborate change, and let's change the whole thing so we can solve this additional problem. But then other students said, no, let's just keep it simple. What's the simplest solution ought to be the best solution. So they came up with just the simple solution to extend the legs down. And then that didn't mean 3D printed, but we'll add another tool element to this, little clips that went along the bottom of the boards. They all can snap in nice and in their position, but they can pull out. We also added one more thing on the back to save both material and allow extra venting. Instead of having a solid back, because they came up with just doing flat at the top and bottom, which solved a couple problems. Cost materials as well as ventilation. So that's a cool addition. So to bring the whole story down, the first half of this semester had 3 classes that were pumping out these things. So go to the next slide. And came up with this result when we got to install them. And the results is beautifully organized. You see the cables, the clips in there, and we're getting good feedback already. There are some improvements still, and that's going to be the process. And this next slide is probably one of my favorites. You can see that's the design, that's the mind, that's the minds, that's the people who created and built, troubleshooted, and were able to probably hold their solutions. So I believe that's awesome. So that was the process. So it started with a few people taking out a project, turned into a single class project, that turned into a 3-class project, each time following that engineering process. I did bring one thing, so to bring a bookend in on this, the main start was this student interest of the dinosaur. And so if it engaged with it, we thought about Stegosaurus and some devices we did plates like that, which would have been super cool, but this is super we wanted to keep some amount of aestheticness in it so the kids can enjoy it. And so it came up with ventilation holes that are and so in all of those devices, they're good. But what was super cool is those are all laser. So if you imagine trying to do that on a jigsaw or something like that, not very precise. But especially with the new tools that we got with the recent grant, we were able to pump these out crazy fast and crazy precise. This entire thing was cut out of a sheet this big. We could cut out 20 of them at once. It was absolutely precise. So that was a fun kind of look, and we're still able to begin at aesthetic design while still functioning on manufacturability, product cost, and function.
That's great.
Appreciate it. And
That's very cool. Kudos to you and your team. That's innovation at its finest. I like that. Very awesome. All right. Was that it for that? All right, very good. All right, moving on to Mr. Gibbon.
Yeah, I just have a few quick updates. This month, recently attended the state superintendent conference, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of different kind of hot topics and a lot of information kind of being shared with just changes at both the state and the federal level. Had one of the advocates there from AASA, and one of the things shared was just kind of the initial outlook on federal funding with the new administration, and it was shared, and obviously the House and the Senate have to work together to finalize the budget, but essentially kind of working to be prepared for some cuts in federal dollars. It was mentioned that potentially there's up to a 25% cut in Title I funding moving forward. So for us, like 25% would be $83,000. We received $333,000 in Title I funding as a district. So that was one version, and then in the House budget itself calls for the elimination of funding for Title II to Title III initial budget, and that'd be just over $66,000 in additional cuts. And Title II is funding that we strictly use for PD, professional development for staff, and then Title III is for I apologize because they keep changing that acronym, multi-language learners. So, whether it's no funding or compromise, it does appear that we're headed on the path for some cuts to federal spending. And then obviously the state level, we know that this is a budget year during a legislative session. They open, they've organized. A lot depends on the revenue forecast in December. But again, even with that, they're sharing it to everyone to kind of be prepared for some cuts. So that'd be our tuition support funding that we receive from the state, and potentially, looking at some cuts or reductions in our property tax revenue, because that's one of the big initiatives is looking at how we assess property values and how we collect tax revenue. So two quick updates just kind of on funding. Also out of that meeting, and I don't recall which day it was released, but the governor, Governor Braun, has released his new organizational structure, and he's setting it up with a cabinet-style approach. And one of the things that was shared with us is that there'll be a secretary for education. And so rather than how we're currently set up with, Dr. Jenner leading the Department of Education, and then having Commission for Higher Education, all these separate entities that have to work together to get some things done, he's making some changes for operational efficiency. And so the Secretary of Education will be responsible for the DOE, the Commission for Higher Education, School for the Blind, School for the Deaf. So they're consolidating some of those responsibilities. So we don't know how all that's going to shake out, but that was new information that I wanted to share. And of course, the individual who's going to lead that endeavor has not been shared or announced as well. So just something kind of to keep in mind as we move forward. Also out of that meeting is the high school redesign. So that's the changes to diplomas, and really the change to really kind of your 8th grade through 12th grade experience is expected to go to the State Board of Education for a vote by mid-December. And that is expected to pass. We haven't obviously seen the final version of that, but it's expected that it's going to closely resemble that second draft of that document. So our high school team, our administrators, our counselors, everybody's kind of been trying to kind of work through what that might look like, because again, if you might recall, there's a very short window of which we'll begin implementing that. So we're going to continue to work through that, so that way we can obviously make sure parents and kids are informed as they make changes or make decisions, for their futures with courses. And then just briefly, we're working on the school calendar for 26-27, so expect to have something by January for the board to approve on that. And then Mrs. Goodpaster, Mrs. Wilson, and I met with Chief Jones with GPD to continue discussion on SROs at Greencastle. And so where we kind of left that now, the ball's kind of in the court of the city in order, and the police department in order to kind of move that forward. We're ready to move that forward, so we're kind of waiting on them at this point. So I look forward to bringing something to the board for that in the future. And then we did receive our 1782 notice, so our budget order for next calendar year. I will share some in-depth information with the board next month on that. But those are just a few items that I wanted to update you on.
All right, moving on to old business, we have none. New business. We have an approval request for the 2024-25 ProCare therapy contract for Tele SLP services.
Yeah, so this is unfortunately this has kind of come before us board a couple of times already, where we've had a contract with a contract provider lined up where it's fallen through, and we do have a new one that we have moved forward with, and it is virtual with an SLP aid or assistant, and since that change was made, brought before the board again for approval.
Where is this one out of?
This is out of ProCare therapy.
Last one was Boston. A lot closer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. My belly's growling. Sorry about that. I have an approval request to establish FFA chapter for GMS and GHS.
All right, so kids, come forward. Come forward. Folks should come forward. So this is a very exciting time, a very exciting day. And in order to move forward with establishing an FFA chapter for Greencastle Middle School and Greencastle High School, we have to take board action, of which they can then provide verification to both state and national organizations. You guys have anything you'd like to say?
Just like to formally introduce myself, my name is Allison Webster, and I'm the ag advisor and educator here in the middle school and high school. And being new to this community, I greatly appreciate everyone's support and effort in helping us build this chapter. So I'm going to let the students introduce themselves and talk about a little bit what we have in store. Hi, I'm Angela Overshiner. I'm currently today we have Ted Cooper, serving 2024-2026 secretary.
I'm Corbin Marshall, and I'm serving as our vice president for FFA.
I'm Megan Lee, and I'm serving as
Hello, my name is DJ Sig, and I'm in 8th grade. Hello, my name is Corbin Allen. I'm 24. I'm 6.
And then I'm going to start off with Taylor Brown. What we have in store. So in December, we are working on going to do games with the people at the nursing home and taking gift baskets to them. In the upcoming year, we are working on doing dances throughout the middle school, different activities throughout the high school, and going to our elementaries and taking livestock and farm equipment to show them fundamentals of agriculture and the importance of it, and then also how to care for it. And we are working on getting sponsors for our national conventions and different conferences.
We will be participating in crop judging, meat judging, public speaking, landscape management.
And then you may would like to share about our contributions. Yeah, so we tried to have 5 chicks in our classroom a few weeks ago, and it didn't work out. But we're planning to like try new animals because it's really good for us to learn about animals in real life because I feel like it helps us. But we discussed cutting quail, maybe trying chickens again, hamsters, just anything, but mainly for educational purposes.
So did you put eggs under an incubator? Is that what you did?
Yes, yeah.
Did someone bring them in, or where'd you get them?
We brought them in. They weren't fertilized. We did dissect them and find out that they were not fertilized.
Okay.
So after we thought they were fertilized. So it was a good learn and fail type of.
Well, if you want to try again, I can bring some eggs in and spring roosters and chickens.
I think Mayberry is going to donate some chicken eggs as well. So
Yeah.
So that is a little bit about us.
Okay. Well, it's really awesome. It's really, really exciting. It's good to see students here, and it's good to see students here speaking. We saw many, a couple different times tonight, students speaking before the board and adults, and I just think that's just a good thing in life and in general, good practice. And we're really excited to hopefully move forward here and support your organization. We want to go ahead and, I guess I'd make the recommendation. The board approved establishing an FFA chapter for Greencastle Middle School and Greencastle High School.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Congratulations.
How many kids do we have in the program?
In middle school, we have roughly 80 students signed up, and then in the high school, we have 15 to 20. Still building on those numbers. Hopefully, those numbers will continue in the middle school and lead throughout the high school and go there. So we're really starting at the middle school.
Very nice.
That's awesome. It's exciting. Yeah, we do have cupcakes to celebrate this occasion at the end of our board meeting. We invite everyone to stay and have a cupcake with us.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing some more reports down the line about how it's going too.
Yeah.
Very cool. Please come back.
Awesome.
All right. Moving on. I have approval request for corporate athletic sponsors. Myers Market for $1,000. I get a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. All right. I have a approval request for some donations. Looks like Greencastle Hometown Dental to Greencastle High School Champions Together for $1,000, and Gary and Linda Huber Fund for Cultural Arts and Learning to Greencastle High School Art Band Choir, GMS Art Band Choir, and
It's TZ.
TZ. All right, there we go. TZ Art and Music for $82,000. Is that 82,000?
8,200.
There we go.
Each
Each.
many zeros.
Yep. Couple typos. We'll get it there. Each department will receive $1,025.
That's correct.
There we go. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to be approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will carry. Thank you very much. I have an approval request for technical corrections to some Neola policies.
Yeah, so this is a technical correction, and per our board policy allows the board to bypass 2 readings in order to make a technical correction. That's why there's an approval request there. And so the technical corrections that we discovered that need to be made in a couple of policies, it listed a couple of individuals, specific individuals who are assigned to positions. And so we are removing those names and just leaving the titles only. And then for personnel and benefits coordinator, instead it'll read payroll and benefits coordinator. And so it'd be my recommendation that the board allow us to make those updates on first reading.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. No questions. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will carry. All right, I have an approval request for the second reading of Neola policies, special update, June 2024 legislative changes, and Edgar UGG Volume 36, Number 2.
Yep, so these were brought to the board for first reading last month, so this month is a second reading and adoption, and we discussed what some of those changes were last month, and it'd be my recommendation that the board approve of these updated policies.
Any discussion on that?
No.
Good. Any standard? Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will carry. All right. Then I have first reading of Neola policies. Next in line.
Yep. So I discovered two more, but still specifically with special education. We made a reference to Old National Trail, special ed cooperative, and that was out of date, and so you'll see the proposed update listed in that. Obviously, special education cooperative, and then this just is the first reading this month. No action being taken.
Okay. Very good. And moving on to H, we have the teacher appreciation stipend.
Yep. So Department of Education, and this is why it wasn't I was hoping to have this in your packet before packets went out. But last Friday they released the allocations for the teacher appreciation grant to schools. And you might recall that the funds received from the DOE go specifically to teachers. You cannot use them for administrators. And so we have those essentially a spreadsheet, calculations, calculated out those amounts, shared that out with our teachers today. We're prepared to distribute that on the December 6th payroll. And so just choosing to take care of our returning administrators who meet essentially those same criteria at the same time and at the same amounts as our teachers. And so those things were listed and listed in the letter that was placed on your desk tonight. And this is something that we've done in the past.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Hearing none, can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will carry. All right. Do we have any other business?
I do not.
Okay.
I did. I took a tour for a veterans program, which applaud the principals for what they do for the veterans program. Being a veteran myself, they do a wonderful job. But I was able to tour too, and I think one classroom that caught my eye was the music room at TZ, and the work that she has done in there at getting her own equipment and everything. And I would love to see us get into a position to where we might be able to help the teachers out with some resources that they would like. At some point, discuss how we might be able to figure out a way to help teachers get the resources that they need within inside their classroom. I think they were going to work with Dr. Hell and his group. They did some work in there, but I'm sure that's just a microcosm of the entire school district. But there's a way that we could work towards that. There's a lot of great things happening in the classroom, and it's a lot of burden on the teachers, and I'd like to see some effort made towards that as well. Looking towards what opportunities we have there, if possible.
Yeah, we have some in place, and they can work through their building administrators. We set appropriations aside for those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And to piggyback on that, I was at Deer Meadow as well. I think we had Veterans Day celebration there. Well done with that. That was very cool. It's nice to see some celebrations in the schools and a lot of smiling faces and little kids with the flags, and it was really cool. So very nice with that. And kudos to the new lighting outside of McAnally and the signage. Very beautiful. Looks very nice at nighttime. So very cool there.
And Sister Act, I heard Sister Act was
Yes,
phenomenal.
yes.
I didn't get a chance to see it, but I heard nothing but great things.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of people did it.
Very cool.
A lot of holiday concerts coming up. I posted on our Facebook all of the different posters at all the schools that we have from preschool all the way to the high school. So make sure to check out these dates.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that it'll be done in time for some of those concerts that we have at the entrance of Parker Auditorium. We have some additional things that are some purple accent lighting and some frosted glass with Mrs. Parker's name that's going to go on the glass above. So it'll just be another piece just to draw you into that awesome auditorium that we have. So I'm excited to see that.
Very nice. I like it. All right. Do we have anything further before we move to close? All right. Hearing nothing, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion in 2 seconds. Do we have any discussion on that? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Happy holidays.
And we have cupcakes.
And don't forget